Hello, my name is Eric, your technical support representative here at Magic Shelf. Today, we wanted to talk about how to set up your newly purchased 10.1 cubic foot refrigerator, also known as the HMDR1000 model. Aside from learning how to set up the unit, we'll also be going over maintenance that's required for this unit and issues that may arise if maintenance is not kept up. Let's get started. So, before we get into the maintenance required for this unit and recommended settings as well, let's go over what's necessary before you set it up once the unit has arrived to your home. First and foremost, ensure that wherever the unit is going to be located, that it's not going to be enclosed. The unit is not meant for that. At the very least, provide 1 to 2 inches between the back of the unit and the wall where it's going to be up against. The reason being for that is so that there's more than enough airflow to provide to the coils on the back of the unit. They do tend to get pretty warm, so the ambient airflow from your home is more than enough to cool it down, but if it's enclosed, it's not going to be able to do that. Another thing you want to make sure of before putting in the unit is ensuring that the outlet will supply anywhere between 115 to 120 volts. Alright, let's get started. We'll start off with setting up the refrigerator section. As we can see, at the top, we have our control settings. It's a very basic setup. We can adjust the temperatures out of the following 3 options. You can set temps to either cold, colder, or coldest. Along with being able to adjust the temperature setting, you can actually shut off the unit directly through this control. Simply press and hold the set button for 3 seconds. Then, you'll notice that the unit will stop supplying power to the rest of the refrigerator, and the LED will start flashing red. I recommend using this feature when you need to clean out your fridge and not have to deal with pulling the unit over to be able to disconnect the power cord outlet, or to disconnect the power cord. Follow the same steps to turn it back on via the control panel. Now, let's get into the freezer section of the unit. If you look directly into the middle of the back panel, you will see a dial control. This control allows you to control the airflow coming from the fan motor that is built into the ventilation. That fan motor provides the cold air needed for the fridge to be cold and reach temps anywhere between 35 degrees Fahrenheit to 42 degrees Fahrenheit. You will see 3 settings on the dial: cold, colder, and coldest. So, to keep it simple, cold will open the ventilation to allow more airflow to the refrigerator section, while coldest ensures the ventilation is narrow to keep most of the cold air in the freezer section. We always recommend just to use the recommended setting, which you can clearly see in the middle is colder. So we went over what's recommended as soon as the unit arrives to your home. Now that it's installed, we can go over some of the required maintenance. Okay. One of the main things that's required to be maintained is the actual door seal itself. At first, you're going to notice that it's nice and soft, but over time, because it's in constant contact with the cold, when you open and close it, it may get a bit stiff. Not only will it get stiff over time, you may have some buildup in between the crevices of the actual seal. So I highly recommend once a month at least, get a warm damp towel and not only cover the whole seal, but get in between the ridges of the actual door seal. That way you can ensure that any buildup that is getting in between the crevices of the door seal will be removed with the warm damp towel. And not only are you cleaning it, you're also ensuring that the door seal will remain nice and soft over time. Okay? Very important that it remains nice and soft because it can affect the way that it seals when the door is closed. Once it starts to get really, really hard, it could actually start to form gaps in between the door and the actual wall that it's closed against. In which case you might see some frost or droplets of water forming over time because of the temperature difference. But not to worry, it's very easy to fix, and if it does need to be replaced, it's not hard. Even if you wanted to take out the actual seal, as you can see, it comes out very easily. You do have to pull on it. There's a little fitting inside, so that way all you literally have to do is close it and your door seal is back on. Let's go over some other things that you can maintain. Another thing that we highly recommend that is maintained on this unit are the condenser coils. It's common that these coils do eventually start to build up a lot of dust, a lot of lint over time, and that can actually affect the way that this unit works. So even though there is no fan to help cool down these coils, the ambient air of your home is more than enough to be able to ensure that the coils do not get too hot when going through the cooling cycle. But if there is an excessive amount of lint built up over it, then you will start to notice issues with your refrigerator not being able to maintain temps. Things that you can go ahead and use that will help ensure that it's cleaned. You can go ahead and use a shop vac to go ahead and vacuum everything up. Otherwise, there are coil brushes you can purchase, but if possible, a shop vac is the best thing to do because not only can you vacuum it, you can also blow air in between. As you can see, the space between the coils is very limited, and it's not something I suggest that you go ahead and try to pull forward as it is part of the sealed system. It may potentially crack, so that's why I highly recommend a shop vac. What you may also notice on this unit over time is that you may have excessive frost, especially in the event that you're constantly covering the vents. We always recommend that you leave at least 1 inch of space between your actual food items and the vents located here at the bottom and the vents located right here on the edge in the center. Why do we recommend just a little bit of space? Well, if you completely stuff your freezer section with food and not allowing any airflow, then really only the inside of here is going to get cold since all the food is blocking all the space in between. And if that's the case, over time, it could eventually freeze the inside of this actual ventilation because the air from the freezer is blown directly into the fridge section. One thing you can check to see if that did happen to you, because you may be noticing that the refrigerator section is not cooling as much, go ahead and turn the knob. But if you find that you cannot turn the knob, or it's really hard and you're scraping happening as you're turning it, that's a good indication that ice buildup has started happening inside of the actual ventilation tunnel. The best thing you can do at that point is, if possible, store your food elsewhere and go ahead and unplug the unit. But I only suggest that you unplug the unit as soon as you go ahead and turn it off from the controls on the inside. As we spoke about earlier, when you are able to set these controls, there's a button that specifically states if you hold down on it for 3 seconds, it'll go ahead and shut it off. And I believe that is the set button. Thank you so much for watching our video on how to set up and maintain the HMDR1000 refrigerator model. If you have any more questions or concerns about this unit, or in general about any of our Magic Chef appliances, feel free to call our customer service number at 888-775-0202. You can also visit our website, mcappliance.com, and speak to a live representative through our chat. Thank you so much. Bye.